After being vegan for roughly a year and a half, I started to notice the vitiligo appear on my arms, and it was never there before. It hasn't completely gone away, but it actually has. Color has started to fill in, which I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how that's even possible. I've lost a total of 80 pounds. Huge car accident. It was so bad. There was 4 cars involved. A semi fully loaded with steel going down a hill ran into cars that were stopped on the highway. And he plowed through all 4 of those vehicles. And I was actually the one that was all the way in the front. And my truck still scaled up the wall from the impact. 100% fixed that traumatic brain injury. I have recovered 100% of all balance and issues with closing my eyes, and the tics, everything that was surrounding that issue has been completely and 100% fixed.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we have with us a special guest, Adam, in here. He's going to share his success story. But Adam, welcome. Where are you located?
Hello, I'm in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay, very nice. I guess maybe just get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am 47, have married, have 2 kids. Both are grown and gone. I was overweight for the majority of my life, potentially 70, 80 pounds total overweight. So it wasn't a whole lot, but basically lived a miserable life, standard American diet, brain fog, very lethargic, not a lot of energy. It didn't really pose too much of an issue or a problem. I went vegan for 2 years in order to support a friend of mine that had cancer, and he went on a vegan protocol. So I went on that diet in support for him. But during that 2 years, I found that my skin condition, vitiligo, got worse and started appearing in other areas on my body. At that point, that's when I researched, is there a solution to this? And I found Joe Rogan on YouTube, and he essentially said that vitiligo was being reversed with him on the carnivore diet, and here we are.
Yeah, and interesting. I was going to mention, because that's something Joe Rogan had mentioned, that he had vitiligo, and that's for those that don't know what it is. It's basically the melanocytes in the cells start to become non-functional, basically, so you get white pigmentation. And how extensive of involvement did that affect you?
Around my waist area, it's probably, if I was to say in terms of maybe softball sized around my waist, it's in areas that I'm not going to take pictures of. But then it started showing up in other areas on my arms. And that's when I started getting concerned for vanity's sake, really. It doesn't hurt. I thought, if it's starting here on my arms, is it going to end up on my face and things like that? And I'm a pretty tan guy, and it would be very noticeable.
So you went vegan for a couple of years to support a friend of yours with cancer. Were they going vegan as well or something like that? Was that the plan?
Yeah, he had prostate cancer, and a friend of his had the same issue 20 years ago and went on this protocol, if you will. It's a vegan protocol, essentially juicing and things like that. In hindsight, mainly it's just an elimination diet. It's not for total health. But at any rate, he started that protocol and for his prostate cancer, because this guy had been alive for 20 years. And my show of solidarity with him, because I never heard of the carnivore diet or a proper way to eat. I'm going to do this with you and support. And yeah, that's how I got into it.
So were you, at that time, you said you were on the standard American diet just prior to doing the vegan sort of thing. And maybe you lost weight, I assume, perhaps, or what happened when you did that?
I wouldn't say with vegan, you have a lot of options in terms of foods that you can eat and stuff like that's similar to junk food, I guess you could say. It's not like the carnivore diet where you're completely eliminating carbs and stuff. I still had some issues with not really doing it properly. I found it hard to do that. And plus, I really can't stand vegetables. It was really a big struggle for me to do that over those 2 years. Did you feel like it made you healthier, or what was the net effect? No, it actually made me feel worse in terms of brain fog and not being able to pay attention and things like that. So I wasn't really doing it myself to feel better or get in a better state of health or anything like that. It was just my friend's doing this and I want to support him. And that was it, really. That was a decision I made.
Okay. So was your vitiligo there at the time when you were doing this diet as well?
Yes. Yep. It had been there for maybe 6 years prior to starting that diet.
Did the diet have any impact on it, positive, negative, or not at all? Or?
Yeah. After being vegan for roughly a year and a half, I started to notice the vitiligo appear on my arms, and it was never there before. And the area where it was originally was getting a little bit larger.
Okay. And so you said you were looking at reasons or ways to treat the vitiligo. Did you go see a physician at some point? Did they give you any kind of, I don't know, creams or something like that?
As far as I know, there really is no solution for this unless you have thousands and thousands of dollars like Joe Rogan does to spend on treatments, which I don't. Essentially, there was nothing to be done. I was told this is a lifelong thing. It's probably never going to get better, and it's likely going to get worse.
Yeah, I know they make cover-up makeups and things like that you can wear, like particularly on your face and stuff like that. Was that the sole reason for going on the diet, the carnivore diet, was to treat the vitiligo? And so how did it do with that?
It's actually started to reverse it. It hasn't completely gone away, but it actually color has started to fill in, which I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how that's even possible considering the professional advice that I was given, and it's never going to get better. It's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, it is something that vitiligo is not a condition that I treated as an orthopedic surgeon, but I was aware of it. You'd see it from time to time. And my understanding also was that it basically just progresses and people end up with huge patches of their body where it's completely pigment free. And so of that size, the arms and the stomach area, how much would you estimate has repigmented?
I would say probably around 10%. Okay. So it's significant enough for me to notice, but not as much as I would like at this point. But I haven't experimented with going with lion diet yet, just basically meat, salt, water. So I'm still eating eggs and occasionally some cheese, but very rarely.
Okay. And at the time you said you were like 70, 80 pounds overweight. When did you impact that? Was that through carnivore? Was that through the vegan juice diet, or when did you drop the weight?
No, after Thanksgiving last year, I decided I'm tired of being fat. After I ate that huge meal, I said, I'm sick and tired of bending over and I can't tie my shoes without being out of breath. And at that point, I decided I'm going to start something in order to lose the weight. And I decided on doing intermittent fasting along with that vegan protocol. And that was torturous. That was murder. That was just starvation through and through. But I'm pretty determined when I decide that I'm going to do something. And I was able to lose about 15 pounds doing intermittent fasting for 2.5 months. And then the vitiligo got to the point where I did the research and started the carnivore diet at that point.
So yeah, you're doing a vegan diet plus intermittent fasting. So you're pretty much, sound like you're probably starving or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It was like an internment camp or something.
So the carnivore diet started when for you? When did you start that?
In February of 2023.
Okay. So we're still relatively early. We're 7-8 months, mm-hmm. 8-9 months in or something like that.
Yep.
And so in that time, since February, since it's November, just turned November now, how much weight have you lost? And you said you've seen about a 10% reversal of the vitiligo. How much weight have you lost?
I've lost a total of 80 pounds.
That's got to make you feel good, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm actually in the same size clothing that I was in when I graduated high school. It's very strange.
What do you do for a living, just out of curiosity, if you don't mind sharing that?
I am a professional photographer. So I own my own photography business, and we do team and individual portraits and photographs for sports leagues.
Got it. Okay. And I guess I'm sure you feel better and you're better at work for losing all that weight, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah. But around 2017, I had a traumatic brain injury as well. And I had to actually stop that line of work because the dizziness and issues that I was having with that, I felt like I was going to fall on top of kids when I was on the job. So I had to stop that. I went back to electrical engineering job. And and then that gradually got a little bit better over time and went back to the photography. But yeah, the weight was a huge issue with trying to keep up with things.
You had a TBI, was it like a car accident or something like that? Or how did you hurt your brain?
Yep. Huge car accident. It was so bad that there was 4 cars involved. A semi fully loaded with steel going down a hill ran into cars that were stopped on the highway. And he plowed through all 4 of those vehicles. And I was actually the one that was all the way in the front. And my truck still scaled up the wall from the impact. Went up the median wall and came back down. And yeah, I got my brain injury from that.
Oh, goodness. And because obviously you mentioned the vitiligo, you mentioned the weight loss. What did you feel? You said you're back to being able to work right now. Is that fair to say?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm full-time, 100%. Helping with the Carnivore Diet documentary, along with my full-time job and several other things too. The energy levels that I've received by eating this way is astronomical. I'm able to do 3-4 times what I did before easily.
And just, you said you're not on a strict meat and water lion style diet, or as I call it, like an autoimmune carnivore. What does your diet look like now?
I eat roughly 6 to 8 eggs in the morning, cooked in beef tallow, and I eat 1.5 pounds of ribeye or a chuck steak in the evening, and that's it.
Okay, so that's not all that much food, but it seems to keep you. Do you feel fairly full and satisfied with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There for a while, I was only eating once a day, but now since I've got to my target weight, essentially, my body somehow is more hungry than what it was before.
You're not carrying around as much fuel.
Right.
You don't have a backpack worth of food strapped to you. So as far as obviously there probably were people, I don't know what do you have family with you or anything like that, have noticed the weight loss and the changes?
Absolutely. My wife, she's seen the transformation, and my 2 sons, they both live on their own now, but because they live on their own, they don't see me every day. And when I would show them pictures, they're like, "Holy crap, Dad, you're looking good."
Yeah, good for you, good for them. There was a question from the chat here about, because you have this traumatic brain injury, did you make an effort to maybe go do this more in a ketogenic style, or do you worry much about that?
I never really went on the diet for the brain injury at all. Like I said, I went vegan for solidarity for a friend, and then I started carnivore for the vitiligo. But I did find that eating a carnivore diet, let me rewind. I had lost 10%, essentially what the doctors deemed brain function. And I had lots of other issues with that, balance issues. I had tics that couldn't be explained. I had to have the lights on at night or I would get vertigo. Couldn't stand and close my eyes without falling completely over. There was lots of issues that I had with that. And I went through physical therapy with balance exercises and things like that for almost 2 years after that happened. And I never thought that a diet would actually improve that, but it has 100% fixed that traumatic brain injury. I have recovered 100% of all balance and issues with closing my eyes, and the tics, everything that was surrounding that issue has been completely and 100% fixed.
And you notice that difference since the diet? You don't think it was something else? You think it's clear to you that occurred from the dietary shift?
Absolutely, because that happened in 2017. So I lived with those issues for years and years, 6 years. And miraculously, in the it actually fixed itself in about 5 to 6 months. So within that 5 to 6 months of eating that way, and I was strict BBB&E, and issues completely went away. So there's no other explanation for me of how that happened.
Yeah, timing makes sense. And I've seen it, like I said, we've seen it before, and we know there's some literature that would support that does happen. So it's good to see that's occurred. As far as you said, you got down to your goal weights. What do you do anything else? You said you do physical therapy, or you had been doing that for years. Or any other things you've done in support of your recovery?
I actually did some speech therapy. I had to go to a speech therapist, and I did things with memory and stuff like that. I still do have some holes in my memory from that accident and other areas more long term. But my short-term memory's gotten a lot better. I received treatment for that as well. But effectively, I stopped treatment for the brain injury roughly 3 years into it. And so I've been effectively just managing myself over the last 3 years without doing anything.
And do you have any kind of, are you still seeing physicians or anybody in the healthcare sector since you've gone on this diet?
Yeah, the physicians to me are a four-letter word almost. So I stay as far away from them as I can. I say my doctors are Dr. Baker, Dr. Berry, and that's where I draw the line.
Like I said, if you get in a car accident, you want some docs around that can put you back together. But yeah, there's some definitely, sure. I'd say for most people, avoiding the healthcare system is probably a good thing.
For sure. Right now. Yeah, I found a lot of benefit by going to the physical therapy. Now, whether my balance and things like that was improving over time anyways, or if what they were doing was helping, I'm not sure. But it seemed like it was worth my time to pay the $50 copay or whatever it was 3 times a week to go in and do that, because it definitely was helping for sure.
What has been, so do you feel that this diet has impacted you in a number of ways? Is there other things that have gotten better for you? Some people talk about sleep, skin, digestion, joint pain. Any other things you've noticed?
The very first thing that I noticed was within 3 days, plantar fasciitis started to improve. And by 5 days, it was completely gone. And that condition with me was very severe. It was so severe that I could only stand for roughly 30 minutes. And then I would have to sit down for at least 2 hours. It was so painful. Special shoes, $250 shoes for different occasions. So I had a few pair of those, and I had to wear a boot at night, things like that. And yeah, so that was the first thing that I noticed in terms of what fixed.
Yeah, you're probably wearing like a little night stretching boots or something like that to stretch your heel cords out, basically. That's what we used to prescribe for plantar fasciitis. So you sleep with your foot being stretched. So it got better. That's cool. That's awesome. I don't know how many millions of people out there suffering from plantar fasciitis. It is quite annoying and painful and makes it hard to walk, particularly in the morning. Like you typically get up in the morning, it's hard to walk, stiff, right?
Yeah, you roll out of bed and roll along and hop along. And yeah, it took a while to get warmed up with that for sure. But yeah, just 5 days in, it's completely gone. It hasn't come back. Good for you. That's got to feel better. And then what, any other things? Actually, I have a list. So brain fog, obviously. I didn't know that I had really essentially brain fog until I was out of it on the carnivore diet, and that's completely gone. Osteoarthritis, I had clinically diagnosed osteoarthritis pain and lived with that for probably 20 years. Where did that affect you? Knees or back, or where was that? Everywhere, but mainly in my feet and in my back. Yes. But yeah, that was a huge thing for me, having that pain gone, because literally the prior 20 years I was living Tylenol and Advil and just whatever you could do to relieve the pain, throw something at it and see if it sticks. And most of the time it didn't, but little did I know just eating meat would fix that issue. That is kind of neat. Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. So what else you got? You said you got a list of things. Absolutely. Inflammation obviously is gone. Gout pain, I had pretty severe gout pain as well. And that took a little bit longer to reverse that issue and get out of that. But gout pain is completely gone. I had headaches quite frequently, and I have no more headaches. I have not had a single headache since I've been on the carnivore diet and made that transition in the first couple of weeks. Depression, I did have mild depression, and I was not on medication for this. It was just a general feel that I had, an overall feeling in life, and that's completely gone. There's no issues there. Anxiety, because I'm a photographer, I would always stay on the backside of the camera. You're not putting me on camera. That's never going to happen. I didn't want to be on camera or film. Don't record me. And since then, I've started a YouTube channel, and there's absolutely zero issues in terms of anxiety anymore, which is incredible to me. I figured that was just the way I was. That's the way I was meant to be. And yeah, so we're having fun with that. The plantar fasciitis, the TBI, the vitiligo is reversing. I had adult acne. That was a huge pain in the butt, being 47 years old and having adult acne is just doesn't look good. That's completely gone, which I've tried throwing everything at that: creams, lotions, potions, whatever you could throw at that, and didn't realize that it was what you're eating is what was causing that. So no sunburns. I can stay out in the sun all day long and I won't burn, which is incredible. Improved deep sleep. So I was sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night, not sleeping very well. Now I only sleep 5 to 6 hours a night, and it's the deepest sleep that I've ever had. So I've regained 2 to 3 hours a day to be able to get things done and live life. So yeah, that's the list. There's lots of other little ancillary things, but
yeah, it's interesting the sleep thing, because a lot of people will comment that they maybe sleep a little bit shorter duration but much higher quality. I've seen that mentioned numerous times for sure. I was just thinking, I just got in back from Germany last night. I got in around midnight and I was up at 6, but I feel pretty rested, so that's a good thing. How, you said you've got your wife and your kids, were they supportive of you making this dietary shift? Did they think you're crazy, or what was it? How was that received?
They always think I'm crazy. So that's number one. Number two, I'm always doing strange things, different things, jumping on a vegan diet all of a sudden. So they've always been very supportive in everything that I do. Now, I haven't really received any negative pushback or anything like that. They're very supportive.
Just because you've had a chance to compare both carnivore diet versus vegan diet, how do they compare in your mind?
I don't even know that there is a comparison. They're so stark and different from each other. The biggest comparison, not to get into too many details here, but the biggest comparison is not only in how you feel, but the number of times that you visit the restroom. It was 3 times a day easily on a vegan diet. And now I'm lucky if I go every 4 or 5 days. So that is a huge benefit in my eyes. They always say, if you're doing that, if you're going to the bathroom a lot, that's the healthy thing. But I just don't see it that way. It's more of an annoyance than anything. And so, yeah, that's the biggest difference that I've seen in terms of drastic comparison. But in terms of overall health, the carnivore diet is more satiating. It's more sustainable long term. I don't have any leftover food. I don't have rotting things in the fridge. And it tastes a lot better.
Yeah, I'm just, one thing I would add, what about cost? Because a lot of people say, well, like, a meat diet is expensive. You're eating 6 eggs and some beef at night, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be that high. But how did the vegan diet cost compare to what you're doing now? About the same, or a little less or more?
It was considerably more eating vegan, because you want to make sure that you're getting organic, whatever that means, and eat healthy as you can. But the volume of food that I had to buy was insane. And on top of the amount of waste that happened with stuff that just rotted in the fridge. Comparison, I'm about 1/3 the cost on a carnivore diet versus eating on a vegan diet.
That's quite a big difference. Some people say a vegan diet will just eat rice and beans are pretty cheap, and you could do that. But if you're doing organic fruits and vegetables, and then the prices go up quite a bit more. So is your family participating? Are they eating more meat now because you're doing this, or were they on the vegan cleanse too at some point, or no?
They were not. They were all essentially on the standard American diet. My wife is eating more meat than what she was, which is good. She hasn't jumped on board yet. Hopefully one day, if you're watching, you'll jump on board, babe. My 2 sons, they're eating a lot more meat. My one son, Devin, he's definitely 90% carnivore at this point. And his job entails him working on wind turbines. So his concern is just trying to work out meals and things like that, and just sitting down and trying to figure that out. And my other son, he's probably 75% carnivore. So they're not all the way there, but yeah, they're definitely eating a lot more meat than what they were before.
Now you're 47, and so you're eating lots of eggs and meat and saturated fat and, my gosh, cholesterol and all that stuff. Are you concerned about that? Does that bother you in a way? Are you worried about getting sick or something like that, heart disease or something like that?
Absolutely not. With all of the issues that have been solved, if I end up with heart disease at some point in my life, I know that I've lived my life to the fullest in that time frame. So I am not concerned in the slightest for heart disease. I know a lot of people say that's a big concern with eating this way, but I'm telling you right now, if I can fix 20 other things and that might happen down the road, so be it.
Yeah, a lot of people share that sentiment. I've asked this question quite a bit, and honestly, I think the answer is we just don't know. I think that's the fairest answer you could say. What if you look at all the other risk factors that go into heart? Losing that 80 pounds, driving the inflammation down. I don't know what your blood pressure was doing before, or if it's changed. Have you had a change in blood pressure, or is that something you ever even noticed?
I have. My blood pressure has reduced about 20% from what it was. My resting heart rate is also down from eating the vegan diet to the carnivore diet for sure, that was surprising to me. And I actually got a notification from my Apple Watch that gave me a report and said your heart rate has been down X amount. And I really didn't even notice it because I wasn't like having AFib or issues like that where it's noticeable. But yeah, my iWatch actually notified me that my heart rate over time had reduced my resting heart rate.
How much? Just out of curiosity, did it mention how many beats per minute it dropped?
I was roughly around 95, and it went down to about 80. So
okay, so that's a decent amount. That's 15. Yeah. Years and years ago, I collected data on I think 100 people doing the carnivore diet. We had them do it for 90 days, and one of the things we saw was pretty consistently a decrease in resting heart rate. I think it was around eight beats per minute on average that people had reduced. And that's typically considered a sign of better health. And so heart rate coming down, blood pressure, is it normal now? It was high and now it's normal. So normalizing your blood pressure, losing 80 pounds, losing inflammation, those things would all be considered beneficial when it comes to cardiovascular disease. Do you check any labs or anything like that? Is that something you've checked labs from time to time, or do you not do that?
I haven't yet. That is something I just found out that you can actually order your own labs. So I definitely am curious. I don't feel like I need to check my labs for any reason. There's no underlying health issues or concerns for me to actually do any of that. But I am curious just to see.
What about when you lost all this weight, were you doing any significant exercise, or did you increase your daily activity? Did you walk more? Did you start exercising, or is this purely all diet?
100% the weight loss is from diet. I am one of those people that I'm definitely the opposite of you. Exercise is pain. So I try to stay away from it as much as possible. So the weight loss and body recomposition all happened 100% from the diet itself. Now, since I've got down to more of my target weight, I literally am like the Energizer Bunny when it comes to energy. And some nights I actually have to do some type of exercise and workout to make myself tired. I'm actually enjoying getting into doing some exercise and things like that, where literally since I was 18 years old in martial arts and started working 55 hours a week in my adult life, that went away and I never worked out since that date.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said exercise is pain, and that is often the case, particularly when you feel bad, when you're inflamed and achy and overweight, then it doesn't feel good to exercise. But now that the weight has come off, you feel better. And hopefully, like I said, I'm a huge proponent of exercise, as most people know, but that's good to hear. That's awesome to hear. Have people at work noticed you losing weight? Because you're a photographer, so I imagine you're maybe not in the same place all the time, but were the people around you that noticed besides your family?
Absolutely. So there's, like I said, I wouldn't post pictures of myself or anything like that. I'm not a selfie person. So having photos and things like that on the internet usually come from other people. So a lot of the responses that I've seen is from people on the internet or Facebook. Update Facebook profile picture with the after picture, and I get, holy crap, Adam, what happened? And then that leads into a conversation. The guy that I actually did the vegan diet with is my business partner. And so we don't see each other daily. Sometimes there's a couple months that I would go without seeing him, and he would comment on the weight loss and things. But also, one thing that I noticed was, at least I thought that I noticed, was gray hair going away or reversing. And I thought it was all in my mind. And one day he seen me, he seen the back of my head and the gray hair that I have back there. And he's like, "Are you coloring your hair now?" I thought, you see it too. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. People have been accusing me of dyeing my hair, and I'm like, I have no desire. I'm too lazy to do that. It is
Right.
it is something there that I've seen people talk about their gray reversing on that stuff. So now your friend, your business partner who went vegan for cancer, is he still vegan, or what is he doing?
He is. So with his oncologist and professionals that he goes and sees, they basically said, don't eat meat for 5 years. Unfortunately, I have no chance of getting him going that direction, which I feel that he needs to go until that point. So,
It's like a prison sentence.
right.
Hopefully, it sounds like he's still alive. Maybe the cancer is kept at bay or something like that. But have there been downsides? Because I think that's always fair. Any kind of downsides to the diet up to this point?
I don't know of any downsides. The only downside that I can think of is when you initially start, at least with me, because I was vegan and my stomach acid and things like that were low. I had an issue in the bathroom for a couple of weeks, but once things transitioned, it's been clear sailing ever since. I see zero downside to eating this way.
What about socially going out to eat? Do you spend much time going to restaurants? I rarely go to restaurants now. It's like when I'm traveling a little bit, but mostly I don't. But how about the social aspect of it? Has that been a problem for you?
Absolutely not. Zero issues socially. I don't go out to eat. I don't. Occasionally, if I do, obviously, I'm going to try to get the steak, make sure it's not cooked in oil and cooked in butter only, things like that. But I don't have any issues whatsoever socially.
How about missing, like, you standard American diets? I assume you're eating junk food, desserts, things like that. Do you find that's still a challenge for you to not have that?
Probably initially for maybe 4 weeks or so, I did have cravings and things like that for essentially junk food, carbs, sugars, stuff like that. But I didn't have any cravings for vegetables. I could tell you that. I never really liked vegetables. So to get rid of those was definitely a welcome thing.
Yeah, you and me both. I literally, this is just funny because I never liked vegetables and I don't miss them at all. And do you find that you're in Ohio, you got 4 seasons there. Do you cook outside a lot, or how do you prepare your food typically?
Mainly I sous vide cook chuck steak. So because it's cheaper than a ribeye and it's essentially as fatty as a ribeye, and in my opinion, when you cook it this way, it tastes that great. Literally 90% of the time, I just take a chuck roast and slice it up inch to inch and a half thick strips and put that in a bag and sous vide cook it for 24 hours and then bring it outside on the grill for about 30 seconds on each side. And I use a weeding torch, a propane weeding torch. And I just flame sear each side for about 20 seconds and that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, nice. Some of those torches, one of the concerns is you get a little propane taste, and there's some that are designed so they don't do that. Does that bother you at all? You don't taste the propane, do you?
I don't taste the propane, no. If I did, I probably wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Gotcha. And there's a question. So this is going to be your first holiday season. That's always a for some people it's a problem because there's Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas and Halloween and sugar and candy season. How do you intend to deal with that? Will you indulge in some of that, or are you just going to say, I can do without it? What's your thought?
I have actually gone off plan for one meal or something like that, or one treat, if you will, a couple of times on my carnivore travels. And I know now that that's not the thing to do for me. So the holidays are not going to be an issue whatsoever. My wife actually asked me the other day, what are you going to eat at Thanksgiving? I said, I'm going to eat a steak, of course. What else is there? So, and then she's, worried about how is it going to be prepared because we're going somewhere else. I said, I'll just cook it and ahead of time and bring it with us. Just warm it up a little bit. So, most of the time, I don't even need it warmed up. Just slice it and eat it.
Yeah, I think most people, we always traditionally have, at least in this country, turkey for Thanksgiving. And you think about it, it's not, I'd rather have a steak.
Like eating cardboard to me.
Well, kind of. Turkey kind of, it loses its appeal. You'd mentioned eggs and you said butter, bacon, and eggs and beef, I guess, at one point. Are you consuming much extra fat like butters and things like that?
I am not consuming butter anymore because dairy doesn't seem to really agree with me. And when I was losing weight on that travel, consuming dairy and butter and things like that would actually stall my weight loss. And it contributed to my adult acne, I believe. So now I don't cook with butter at all. I use tallow or smoked tallow to cook my eggs in. And if I can't eat a fatty cut of meat, I'll just add some tallow to it. And since we started filming this documentary, we went up and visited Maggie in Alberta on her ranch, and she's full carnivore, and she introduced us during breakfast to fried fat, literally just beef trimmings cut in small pieces and then browned on the outside and served that as a dish. And I'm starting to eat that now. So it was actually pretty good.
A little salt tastes pretty good. Some people do it in the air fryer. But tell me about smoked tallow. That sounds pretty interesting. Where do you get your smoked tallow? Do you make it your own? Do you make your own, or do you just put it on the smoker and render it? And how do you do smoked tallow?
Yep, I just put it in a cast iron pot and put the beef trimmings in that pot and on the smoker when I'm cooking a brisket or something like that, and just render it down that way. It's delicious, especially with fried eggs. That
sounds like a pretty good idea. What you mentioned documentary. Tell me a little bit about that. I didn't know anything about that.
So the documentary is the brainchild of Carrie Mann at the Homestead Hal YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah. I'm familiar about that. Tell me about how that's going then.
It's going great. So we have Carrie's filmed Bill out in Alaska, and we just went and filmed Maggie on her ranch in Canada. She's 65 years on the carnivore diet. She's 82 years young. And I'm telling you, this lady is absolutely phenomenal. There's so much that I could share about Maggie and this carnivore diet and the way that it works in terms of longevity. But we filmed her, had a fun time, got a lot of great material. And we're moving on to the next step, which is to film Dr. Hampton in Chicago this coming weekend, and then go on to Jeff DeProsperous, who you just had on your channel. We're going to film him in Canada for a few days. Yeah, things are going great, and we're progressing along, and we hope to get connected with you at some point and do some filming. And
sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to. That'd be fun. Are you I guess you'd be the principal photographer then? Are you shooting the video and all that stuff? Is that your deal, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Creative direction in terms of the shots and things like that we're getting, and lighting and composition, and just making sure everything's good to go in terms of looks. And yep.
Outstanding. That's wonderful. That's good. Good to see that. It's exciting. Like I said, since I've been involved in this carnivore thing since the inception, it's been wonderful to see how much it has flourished and grown and continues to do. So that's really neat to see. So you're doing a fair bit of, I guess you're doing a bit of traveling then for this.
Yes, we actually just started doing the traveling, and it's going to be a road to hoe, I think, with our vision and what we want to do. So we have main characters, if you will, for each subject. So it's going to be type 2 diabetes, obesity, fertility, things like that, and then several supporting characters that are going to support those areas in the documentary, which all of this is going to end up leading to a series later. But so yeah, there's going to be a lot of traveling.
How long do you think you'll be filming this initial documentary? Do you have a timeline? You think 6 months or something like that?
The goal is 1 year to document real documented stories of people starting the carnivore diet with X issue and traveling to capture their journey, probably at the beginning, middle, and the end, at least the beginning and the end. So it's following them for a year.
How did you and Carrie hook up? Was it your idea, his idea, or how did that evolve?
It was his idea. he noticed that there's really nothing out there for the carnivore diet that's done in more of a film style, if you will, more of an entertainment style, but also educational. There's a couple things out there, but he had a different vision for this because he owns a movie theater. So what better thing to do than do a movie style of a film and then show it in his own theater? So he announced that on YouTube, and I thought, this is absolutely perfect. We just vibed and clicked, and I felt like this needed to be done. So I said, hey, if you need help sweeping the floors at the theater, whatever you need done, I'm on board. I don't need to make any money. We just need to get this message out. So that's how it all started.
Are you, because I can't remember where Carrie's located, because you're in Ohio. Is he near you physically or no?
No, he's roughly 8 hours away from me in Montello, Wisconsin.
Okay. So yeah, you guys are not even close. Good on you for doing that. Let me ask you, because we've got a few more minutes left here, and I want to just see if there's anything else you'd like to share apart, either about the journey or the film or anything you want to discuss.
If I was to talk to somebody that was considering the carnivore diet, my advice would be, so you have to determine the kind of person that you are. If you're a rip the Band-Aid off a person, or if you and jump both feet in all the way, or if you have to take things slowly, just know that if you're a rip the Band-Aid off kind of person like I am, there is probably going to be a little bit of a transition that you're going to have to stick it out and get through that first week or two. I promise you it gets better after that. If you're more of a transition kind of person, you probably won't have any issues whatsoever. I definitely recommend this way of eating for absolutely every person. If you call yourself a human, this is definitely the way that you're supposed to eat. Yeah, that's essentially what I want to get out there. This has changed my life in ways that I would have never expected. It's all welcome. I'm excited about the future now where I wasn't before, and I can't recommend it enough. And I thank Dr. Baker for bringing this to light and starting this revolution, if you will, because without him, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I'm glad I played a little small part. Obviously, you have to do the hard work. I don't think I said hard work to eat a bunch of steaks. It's fun work. It's easy in a way, but it's you still have to have the sort of the mindset to try that. So and I'm excited to see what you guys produce with the film. Of course, I've told Carrie I'm happy to participate in any capacity that you guys need help with. And I think Adam, I appreciate you sharing your story, and of course appreciate you getting the word out there.